Satha, and welcome to the TNA Pusher. As always, I'm joined by the one and only. He's the star of the show. He's the one and only Burt Maclin.
The introduction is flawless every time.
Thank you. I'm glad you like your introduction. All right, before we get started with tonight's show, we had some breaking news earlier today. Mike Johnson from PWI Insiders reported that Speedball Mike Bailey's TNA deal expired on November 1st. He did not appear at the last set of tapings in Fayette, North Carolina. Instead, he was wrestling in Washington State on independent events. So that probably explains why he lost the X Division title and why Trent Seven turned on him. I wish you could have gotten the payoff from that angle.
Yeah, just because I can't remember the last time something like this happening, but it always sucks when, because of the taping schedule, we don't get like a proper payoff to somebody if that's like the last time we see them. You know what I mean? So like if that was the last time we see him, I guess it's a good send-off, but still, I wish we would have got a follow-up.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, it seems like they're going to carry on with this Trent Seven heel turn, which we'll talk about as we get into the show. Fightful Select does report that Speedball Mike Bailey is expected to be all elite wrestling bound. So I have to say, like, Mike Bailey is such an incredible talent. He will be a great addition to any roster wherever he goes. I'm really excited to see what he does. In AEW, I could see him debuting in the Continental Classic, but I wish Mike Bailey the best, and he will succeed no matter where he goes. I cannot wait to see. Oh, hey, Joe.
When I heard this, I was thinking I hope he goes either one of two places, either AEW or NXT. NXT, just because NXT, I'm worried that he gets stuck there, but that's not really a bad thing because I really don't want him going to the main roster. That's always a risky thing in itself. And then in AEW, it's just that roster is so stacked. I don't see where he fits in right away, even though he's capable of having the match of the night with anybody. You know what I mean?
I want to see Speedball Mike Bailey versus Will Ospreay too.
I just think in TNA, I thought that it seemed like they were moving him into the main event scene. It's so abrupt. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fightful Select does go on to say that TNA sources later confirmed that they wouldn't have needed to write Bailey off TNA TV if he were headed to NXT or WWE.
Oh, because of like the partnership?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Joseph says, I think if he goes to AEW, he will end up on Ring of Honor behind the paywall. I could see him going to Ring of Honor. I could see him being the TV champion or pure champion. I think that he will definitely, like I said, he's going to be a fantastic addition to any roster, no matter where he goes. He's a great grab, and I hope he finds success and that he succeeds no matter where he goes, whether that be AEW, Ring of Honor. He's going to be a fantastic addition. I hate to see him go, but what can we do?
Joe's a loyal watcher. I don't want to disagree with him like all the way, but I think Mike Bailey's too good to end up in Ring of Honor, especially seeing how AEW does have 6 hours of TV to fill. You know what I mean? He's going to get on Collision. He's going to get on Rampage at the very least. And yeah, a lot of those wrestlers on that roster are from the indie scene. So Mike Bailey has a familiarity with a lot of them.
He might be used better in WWE. That's true. I agree. He probably would be. But now it makes sense why he moves as the TNA X Division champion. It felt random. I don't have a problem with anybody getting Speedball. Just a surprise that Bound for Glory weekend was his final weekend with TNA. Yeah, me too. I'm surprised. But hey, he went out with a bang. He had one hell of a match with Moose. That was an incredible match. If you haven't seen it, I highly suggest you go check it out.
And real quick, NXT really could have used him, though, just because their main event scene right now is very thin. And like you pointed out, that they wouldn't have had to write him off. So that would have been cool. And yeah, like I said, NXT really could have used him.
Yeah, they could have. They could have definitely used him, but like I said, wherever Speedbug Mike Bailey goes, he'll be a fantastic addition. He's a tremendous
Yes,
talent, and I wish him well.
exactly.
All right. So, Explosion this week featured the tag team of Hammerstone and Jake Something teaming against Jack Price and Bhupinder Kunher. Before we get into this match, I have to say I felt so bad for Jack Price. This was his home state. Oh, that was not a good performance. He was pretty much a jobber, and like he got like his ass beat by Hammerstone and Jake Something here, who were victorious. And he got hit with the pendulum nightmare, but I felt so bad for him.
Team Hammer something.
Yeah, but Hammer Something, I will say Hammer Something looked really great. I hope they're the ones that win the tag titles.
Yeah, they definitely look like no one's going to be able to beat them. You know what I mean? Look at them. But it should be interesting, and it will be cool just because they were both doing really nothing. One doing nothing for a lot longer, and Jake Something, and that's no disrespect to him. It just seemed like they didn't have a direction for him. So yeah, hopefully they do win the tag team titles. And I think it's more of a thing. I think it's in my eyes, that should be the clear cut team the Hardys put over, especially since Chris Bay is on the shelf right now, and I didn't necessarily think they were going to be the ones to get put over, but I did say it needed to be a team that needed it. You know what I mean? So what a perfect team at this point now.
Yeah, definitely. I still think Hammerstone should have defeated Josh Alexander when they were feuding, but that's just me.
Well, I think they had long-term plans for Josh. You know what I mean? I think him winning that was,
yeah,
part of him, part of the heel turn he is in now. So
definitely. I can't wait to see what Hammer Something does in TNA. They need to run Rorschach through the tag team division.
they definitely do.
All right, so next we get Around the Ring with Steve Maclin, and there's so many dog lovers in TNA. Seriously, so many dog lovers. I think like Steve Maclin's like the fourth person on that's come around the ring and talked about their dogs.
I think most people love animal, dogs, animals especially. So I'm not surprised by that.
I have 3 dogs, so
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So
and then we also learned that for those of you who don't know, Steve Maclin is married to the virtuosa Diana Peraza. Long may she fucking reign. Shout out to Lucha if you're watching.
I thought most people know that, but yeah.
There's some people that may not know, especially if they don't watch TNA.
Yeah, good point.
So he brought up the fact that she loves asking him random history questions. Like he mentioned the 100-year war, which apparently isn't a 100-year war, but I thought that was really sweet. I thought it was really cool that she asked him random history questions.
That is nice.
It is. So the main event was Elias Young versus Laredo Kid. This was good. I actually really liked this match. Laredo Kid got some shine, some spotlight. Laredo Kid hasn't done much since he had a short digital media title reign. I wish his reign would have been longer, but this was good. I like this. I hope we get to see more of Laredo Kid.
It's actually Silas Young. That's
Elias Young. What did I say?
Young. I thought you said Silas.
Oh, I think I mispronounced it. It's okay. I mispronounce a lot of names.
No. Yeah, no. I only was correcting you just because this was not only was this my favorite match of the two, but just I should have expected that this guy's a seasoned vet. I would assume most people would remember him from Ring of Honor, especially during like the late 2010s. Yeah, this was a really good match. That move that he tried to hit where he like did a headstand and then tried to like bounce off the ropes. I've never seen that before. He missed, and then it led to the finish with the Laredo Kid hitting the 450. But yeah, this was a really good match.
Joseph said that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Didn't know Celia still wrestles. He was from the original Ring of Honor before Tony Khan. I've heard of him. I'm not too familiar with his work. I know he was from Ring of Honor, so I have to say this was my first time seeing him. He's really good, so definitely would like to see more of him in TNA.
He's definitely I don't know how old he is at this point, but yeah, he's definitely somebody who is obviously is capable of giving you something and he's a good addition at this point to any roster.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. All right. So that's it for Explosion. As I've always said, Explosion could be so much more if only TNA. He's 45. Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
If only TNA just invested more effort, put in more effort, it could be such a banger of a show.
Well, the 2 matches is fine with me, and as long as they're putting people on there that aren't on the show regularly, that's really, I can't complain anymore after that.
Okay, fair point. But you know me, I just feel like, again, like digital media title should be on there, but whatever. Like I just sound like a broken record saying the same thing every week about Explosion. As long as it gives us 2 match, I'm a happy camper. All right, so next let's talk about this week's TNA. Let's start things off talking about the System's ring ceremony. Now, I have to say, I was quite disappointed by the fact that they didn't show the entire segment during the episode. You have to go back and watch either the entire segment on Twitter or on the TNA's YouTube channel. But they didn't show the entire segment. But from what I gathered, the whole gist of it was that Moose gave each member of the System these rings. You know, I'm gonna show my age here, but this reminds me of Captain Planet and the Planeteers, where they put the rings together. But those are some badass rings, though.
That is funny. And it's not, I think a lot of people know that show. I certainly do. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I really like that because they don't need all the gold, but I certainly like how they didn't just flat out disband the System or kick somebody out. I didn't see JDC there tonight. Was he there?
Oh, JDC? Yeah, he was there.
Okay. But yeah, I do like this. I like how they're not necessarily the full part of the show, which that's good. But I do like how they're still a big deal. You know what I mean? They're still making them like they're the top faction. Well, we'll talk about that, but I do think I still like that they're not broken up.
Yeah, same here. This has been Moose's longest alliance faction that he's had. He's usually backstabbed and betrayed them by now.
Yeah, but again, this is, and I'll talk about it again, but this faction is pretty assembled the way it should be.
No, yeah, I agree. I hope TNA makes replicas of those rings because I would buy one.
Yeah, the System I could see that just because the System seemed to have a lot of merch, so.
At TNA, if you're watching, you gotta make replicas of those rings. If it's the same ring, one is okay, but if it's 5 different rings, you gotta get a set out there too. So I hope they're watching and listening. Make replicas. # make replicas.
Yeah.
All right. So this week's TNA kicked off with Mike Santana versus KC Navarro. This was a really good match. KC Navarro, like if you weren't impressed by him before, he sure as hell better have impressed you with this match because this was great.
I think this match, especially, well, obviously starting off, it's the first match, but it coinciding with the news of all day of kind of Mike Bailey's contract expiring, and then obviously he's signing with AEW. Right off the bat, I was like, instantly, especially watching KC Navarro since he just recently signed, I'm not worried. They always have a plan, and yeah, this match was so good. And Santana continues to be like, I don't want to upset anyone who is a big Joe Hendry fan, but I think Santana is one of those people proving that I think he should be world champion, especially over somebody like Joe Hendry. But yeah, Casey Navarro is so good. I really like the spot where he went over the top rope and AJ Francis caught him. That's a good teammate. But this was such a good match.
You see my face when you made that comment?
Yeah, I understand that, and I don't that wasn't targeted at you. I know you. Speaking of contracts, I think I looked that over. We can start the countdown, especially we can start right now. I think he's in TNA through 2025, so he has until then to win the title. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sorry.
I will say, I do agree. Mike Santana, with the work that he's been doing in TNA, deserves to be world champion. But I do want Joe Hendry to be world champion too, okay?
That's fair. I didn't say it's not going to happen. I think there's still a good chance. I'm just saying, when I watched Santana, and I was talking about it with some friends in another group chat, he was the one that brought it up. He said Mike Santana should be champion over Joe Hendry. And I'm not saying that directly, but I'm just saying Santana I think he came back with that in mind. And the way he's wrestling and the way that he's looked since he's became a singles guy, he's just on another level. He looks like a world champion. I'm not saying Joe Hendry doesn't, but.
And I'm not saying Mike Santana doesn't deserve to be world champion. He certainly does. They both do. Joe Hendry and Mike Santana both deserve to be world champions. There, point settled. Joseph says, "LL, the Turning Point card was updated. When they bring that up later, there is a one match that I'm sure that it will make that face again." What match is that? So you're talking about the turkey match? If they revisit Santana and Moose at some point, I could see Santana wanting the X Division Championship. Yeah, I could see that too.
Okay. First, on the turkey match, if you saw the graphic, right when that came out, if it wasn't clear that John Skyler is wearing the turkey mat suit, you know what I mean? Like, this match was made for him to wear it. Eric Young's going to make him wear it. It's not like Joe Hendry's going to lose this match, so it's not going to count he's not going to get pinned. So.
Yeah.
Well, Joe Hendry will win it. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, Skyler's or Hotch just put the. I can't remember which one is in it, but.
Okay, so it's Joe Hendry, Eric Young, Hammerstone, PCO, Brian Myers, and John Skyler. Oh my God.
So Skyler's obviously going to put the turkey. Come on. There's no way Joe Hendry's losing. We're gonna put it on.
John Skyler's wearing that turkey suit.
Yeah, they're not going to bury him that bad.
Oh my God. And it's going to be so hilarious to see John Skyler in that turkey suit.
It's not a burial. I'm just saying it's just Joe. They're not going to do that to Joe Hendry right now.
The Thanksgiving Turkey Bowl match. Yeah, John Skyler, based on everyone in this match, yeah, he's wearing that turkey suit.
Right when you see the graphic, it's like obvious.
Yeah. You know, I didn't pay attention to the graphic. I just saw Joe Hendry, but now that I see it, John Skyler's wearing that turkey suit.
Who else but him?
Right? Do you imagine Hammerstone in the turkey suit?
I don't think it would fit.
Eric Young, I don't think he's doing it. Yeah, you're right. Sorry,
he's
John
done it before.
Skyler.
He's done it before. Eric Young's won it before, or had to wear it before. Like I think in the 2010s or 2011 around then. So yeah, there's no one else that should wear it but him.
Okay, so the Nemeth brothers are interviewed, and Nic Nemeth is just talking about how he wanted to defend the world title against Brian Myers, but Santino Marella said no. And he says Eddie Edwards is a hell of a fighter. Ryan Nemeth says that he's gonna take care of Joe Hendry, and he promises to be at ringside. And then he says that Joe Hendry's video ruined his life. Because remember last week, Ryan Nemeth released the Ryan Nemeth, Joe Henry released the Ryan Nemeth story, which was basically a video of them saying that Ryan Nemeth is Nic Nemeth's brother. So
this guy's having a bad week, and he's
oh
gonna
yeah.
continue. He's gonna continue to have a bad show. Kazarian got me with later in the show. I think he referred to him as Nic Nemeth. When he's talking to Nic Nemeth, he's like, "Your Mark brother," so or your jobber brother, which I laughed. But yeah, this was funny.
It was. So next we get an Ace Austin and Hardy segment. They get interrupted by Trent Seven, who says that GM Miller needs to be interviewing him about the low blow he gave Mike Bailey. And the Hardys question, like, what happened to him? And then Trent Seven, Hammerstone, and Jake Something attack the Hardys and Ace Austin here.
Yeah, I like how they did cover it a lot. They did show the highlight, I think, at the beginning of the show, and then on Explosion as well. But yeah, I wish we would have got more of a follow up than this.
I want to hear Trent's actions. Like, I want to hear an explanation from Trent as to why he did what he did. Like we said, because Mike Bailey is leaving, we're not going to get to see a blow-off match between Mike Bailey and Trent Seven. But I still think that they're probably gonna, you know what? I guess now Trent Seven is a heel. I was gonna say they're gonna use it to turn him heel, but he's obviously very much a heel now.
Yeah, see, I want to hear why, but I want him to go to the ring and ask me if I want to hear why, and then don't tell me why. Because that's what a good heel does. Okay, I don't want him to tell me. I don't deserve to be told why he turned heel, at least not yet.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Next we get the returning Allen Angels and Jake Crist versus the Rascalz. Smoke 'em if you got 'em, and as always, I don't got 'em. So
I'm lazy. So what are we gonna call this team? Is it Crist or is it Christ Angels or is it Chris? Well, Chris Angel. Is that what's his last name? Is it Jake Chris? I'm trying to remember how
yeah,
is it.
Jake Crist.
Okay, so Chris Angels. Okay.
I think that's copyrighted.
I don't think. We'll have to check on that. I don't think it is. I can't think of anyone. No one comes to mind with that name.
You never heard of Chris Angel, the magician and illusionist?
I think they can get by with calling themselves that. I don't think it's gonna matter.
Okay. But anywho, Tom Hannigan on commentary dropped some sad news. He said out of all the talk shows, the sound check got canceled.
I didn't hear him say it. Did he really fucking say that?
Yeah, he said the sound check got canceled. Which is a bummer because I actually really like the sound check.
Yeah. He better not have had anything to do with that.
I mean, I get like why they canceled All About Me when they asked Tennille Dashwood questions about her because she left. Locker room talk, I get why they canceled that because Madison Rain left. But why would they cancel the sound check? I actually really like the sound check.
It was good to agreed. It was good to see Allen Angels back because here's another guy that I was always a huge fan with. I think he's only like 27. Here's someone that can really step up, especially in the X division, and take that spot that Mike Bailey, that the void that Mike Bailey's leaving. I don't know if this is a permanent tag team. I don't know if someone can help if Jake Chris did TNA sign him? Is he signed with TNA?
I haven't heard anything.
Because I would rather see Allen Angels as a singles guy. That's why it bumps me out that they canceled the sound check, just because I thought that's where he was really showing some personality. But that's fine if this is a tag team going forward. As long as it's Allen Angels on TV, I could care less.
I have to say, much like the Good Hands, Alan Andrews is completely underrated and underutilized by TNA. He's an incredible talent. He has showcased what he can do, and it disappoints me that they're not utilizing Alan Angels as much. Where the hell was Alan Angels for this entire time?
That's a good point.
I'm not sure if Alan Angels and Jake Crist are teaming in the Indies, but they actually make a great tag team. I don't know if Jake Crist is coming back to TNA or if he's signed, but I wouldn't mind seeing them stick around as a tag team. The Rascalz getting a big win. They're trying to change their momentum since they haven't had the best of luck as of late.
And I don't even know if is Alan Angels really even, is he signed with TNA? Is he on a per match, but
I don't know.
Per date kind of deal. I mean,
I think he is signed. I believe he's signed. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to give out the wrong information without knowing.
But yeah, regardless, is Alan Angels is somebody that they should have locked down. If not, and if he is, he needs to be featured more just because he has a talent, and there is something there where I personally think he can be a star. So he showed like blips of that. So
all right, yeah. So hopefully we get to see more Alan Angels going forward. But anywho, we get a Spitfire segment. I gotta say, Jody Beck quoting Aqua's Barbie girl during this promo, as she talks about how she's gonna face Ash by Elegance, and she says she's gonna show her that her life in plastic ain't so fantastic.
I didn't catch that, but that's very funny.
It is, because that's not the direct quote, but it's pretty much from Aqua, where it says life in plastic is fantastic. So I thought that was hilarious. I really like the segment with Spitfire.
I really do too, and I do like how, especially later, it seems like that there's somewhat of a tag division now, so that's good.
All right, so next we get a 6-man tag match. This is the Northern Armory versus Eric Young, Steve Maclin, and Jonathan Gresham. This is actually a rematch. The last time the Eric Young, Jonathan Gresham, and Steve Maclin faced Josh Alexander, he was with the Good Hands, because as you recall, the rest of the Northern Armory were not able to go to Detroit, which Josh Alexander claimed was a conspiracy theory, that they were trying to prevent the Northern Armory from being together. But I actually thought this was a really good 6-man tag match. I guess Travis Williams and Judas Icarus are no longer Sinner and Saint, because they were no longer referred to as Sinner and Saint. I guess they're just being referred to as by their names. But, they work really well together. Granted, they were a team before they joined Josh Alexander. But this is great. I really like the fact how Josh kept avoiding Steve Maclin during this. He didn't want anything to do with Steve Maclin unless he had the upper hand. And I really like that spot with Jonathan Gresham and Judas Icarus, where they exchanged elbows, and then that other spot with Travis Williams and Judas Icarus and Jonathan Gresham. I thought that was a really cool spot.
I saw this on X, and I think it was from either Judas Icarus or Travis Williams. I think it was. But so they said TNA on TNA, and I was like, okay, that's fucking really clever. They need to patent that. This is how a faction's supposed to be formed, and you just alluded to it. Josh needs to avoid him because Josh is the focal point. He's the leader. Then you got the two young guys that need to be, you know what I mean? Like this is how a faction is perfectly formed. Like since the beginning of time. Like I'm forgetting the members of Jesus' faction, but you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like this Ric Flair, the Four Horsemen. This is just you got your the guys that are supposed to watch the champs back. Josh isn't the champ, but yeah, he should stay away from Steve Maclin. They need to, you know what I mean? That's the point, because Steve like alluded to it after this when he said they're not done. They need to keep this fresh enough to where they can make this a long term, not a really long time, but this is a big time feud.
I just say, speaking of Steve Maclin, you can make the argument that Steve Maclin cost him this match because, he hit the crosshairs, but he just would not stop pounding Josh in the face with those fists. And Eric Young was trying to do the elbow, and he wasn't able to because Steve Maclin just would not let go of Josh. You can kind of say it was his fault that they lost, because Northern Armory was victorious after Josh Alexander hit the C4 spike to Steve Maclin.
Yeah, I could take this either two ways. Like, I could see, because of that, Steve Maclin, being the one to get it together and there is no turn, and him and Eric Young end up becoming, a really good tag team, maybe tag team champs down the road. But I also could see, Eric Young this leading to a turn anyway, just because, and then Eric Young just blaming Steve Maclin, because that's what a good heel would do. Because I still think ultimately Eric Young joining TNA would make sense.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk more about Steve Maclin later because he does have the show did close with Steve Maclin. I know after this is a Frankie Kazarian a promo that he did, but we'll talk about that right now. Let's talk about this next segment because it's a follow-up to what happened here. So Steve Maclin tells Santana Morel, like you said, that this is not over, that if he doesn't do something about it, he will. And basically, Jonathan Gresham also tells both Eric Young and Steve Maclin that he's only concerned about Josh Alexander in the Northern Armory, that if Steve Maclin and Eric Young got his back, he's got theirs. Eric Young tells Steve Maclin that he needs to figure stuff out. So
that's why I think it could lead to him just coming back and then them him figuring it out and becoming a tag team. But I still would rather see Eric Young turn on him. So, but I am very interested in this.
Me too. Like I said, especially what happens at the end, which we'll get to when we get there. So Frankie Kazarian cuts a promo and he's pissed off that TNA had the audacity to air the archive footage of Rhino goring him.
Yeah, that was... I'm hoping someone's getting fired for that.
He says the only thing that matters at the moment is that he won the Call Your Shot trophy. And not only did he beat Rhino in his hometown, he beat Rhino the very night he got into the Hall of Fame. Rhino says that he doesn't need a trophy to beat Kaz. So it seems like we're making a rematch here.
And then he said a swear, which, again, who let that fucking go?
Right? That's our Frankie. Yep, it is.
Frankie Kazarian's such a good heel.
He is. I love his old King of TNA gimmick that he's doing.
And I don't want to upset you, so I'm not gonna say anything about, because I...
Go ahead. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Well, there's another world champion, future world champion right there.
I agree. Frankie Kazarian should hold the world title. Okay, he's doing some great work. I'm surprised they haven't brought back King of the Mountain just for Frankie Kazarian.
So, and I've always said, so Santana, Josh Alexander, Kazarian are all people I think are going to be world champion. And we also, especially you, are cheering for Joe. I'm just saying. It's stacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say, if you want to make Frankie an even bigger heel, you can have him pull Moose and Rob, and you can have Joe Hendry win the world title. I don't know if where Rebellion's going to be held at, but you can have Joe Hendry win the title and then have Frankie Kazarian steal Joe Henry's moment like Moose did to Josh Alexander Bound for Glory 3 years ago.
Are you allowed to do with that trophy?
That's your Call Your Shot trophy, remember?
Okay, because for some reason I thought that Moose did it with the ultimate, the brief of the Feast or Fire, but okay. I didn't know that you could do. Is Feast or Fire was gone at that point?
No, Feast or Fire they did this year when that because remember that was the whole reason why he was feuding with Steve Maclin because Steve Maclin had caught the briefcase originally, but Rhino gored him, which caused the briefcase to fly out of his hands, and Moose caught it.
Okay.
So yeah, we should keep an eye on Frankie during Nick and Eddie's match at Turning Point because Frankie may cash in. He could potentially cash in. We have to wait and see. So next, we're supposed to get Ryan Nemeth versus Joe Hendry. But before that, Joe Hendry cuts a promo talking about how he has the director's cut of the Ryan Nemeth story. And he scoured the internet to find more parts for this. Oh my god, I cannot. This is hilarious. But it's actually the same video as last week. And the crowd chants one more time. So he shows it one more time. Oh my god. This is great. I like this.
Dude, he scorched him. Like, I don't know how you... I don't know how you come back from this.
I don't know either.
It was a good match, but... Yeah, I don't... Yeah, I really don't have much to say to Joe Hendry got the win. I'm glad they didn't have him lose.
Well, if he wants to challenge for the world title again, remember Santana Morella told him he has to start from the bottom.
Yeah. I don't think he has to go undefeated, but yeah, he's gotta start racking up some wins.
Mm-hmm. So of course he would be Ryan Nemeth. All right, next we get Rosemary versus Jada Stone. I have to say, we've seen Jada Stone before. We saw her on Explosion. She's actually a really good talent. TNA needs to sign her because we need to add more to the Knockouts division, especially Knockouts tag team division. I don't want to say this was an enhancement match because this was a really short match.
I think obviously they gave her a little bit more because this wasn't her first time on TNA. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it wasn't anything. It wasn't much. I think it's the continuing them to talk about the story. Rosemary just telling her, really that she's the only one left. I think we're eventually building to her reuniting with, I would say at least with Havoc.
I would think so. I mean, Havoc still needs to get her revenge on Ash by Alliance.
Yeah. And that would be nice just because then we really would have an actual Knockouts division, tag division, so.
Joseph says it was basically for Rosemary to continue her momentum after coming off her no DQ win last week over NXT 22. Okay, I can see that. All right, so next, I know this is when they show the Systems ring ceremony, but we talked about that. Like I mentioned earlier, in case you missed it, they did not show the entire segment during this week's episode. If you want to watch the entire segment, you can find it on Twitter, on the TNA's Twitter page, or you can find it on TNA's YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we get an Alicia Edwards promo, and she's just talking about the system and talking about how she carried Masha through the tag team. We find out that next week it's going to be Lish versus Masha in a no DQ match for the Knockouts title. I think Lish was very bold, I don't think she's going to win, but I think she will put up a fight.
This was such a good segment. She was going out there and getting some heat because she was talking for a while before Masha came out. Like, did she call her Masha Slamovich, or did she like butch, like, did she like kind of like butch the last name a little bit? Like, what did she call her?
I think she called her Masha Slamovich. I didn't catch her when she said the last name.
Okay. But yeah, so it wasn't Tasha Steelz versus Masha. It's Masha versus Alicia.
I think it's Masha versus Lish. That's what I got out of this.
Good for Alicia getting another. I'm glad this is leading to Alicia getting another title shot, because I especially think if you didn't think, because this is her second time challenging for the world title, right? because the first one seemed kind of random. I think between now and then she's completely like deserved this one because again, I think she's like the unsung hero / leader of the system. She does most of the talking. So yeah, good for her. I hope it's not a squash match either.
I have to agree with you. I hope this is not a squash. Because it is a no DQ match, I could definitely see some shenanigans going on here. I definitely see like Tasha Steelz getting involved in here, Jordan Grace getting involved. I don't think it's going to be a squash match, but I don't think that Lish is going to win.
It's a no DQ, then it should definitely be a main event too, because I think she's going to get. I think they're going to give her a lot. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think this should definitely main event because this will TNA does no DQ matches very well.
I agree. And then Jordan Grace says that she's looking forward to Masha kicking Lish's ass, but she still has a rematch. So it's going to be the winner of Masha versus Lish against Jordan Grace at Turning Point for the Knockouts title. Joseph says the fact that it's no DQ makes me worry for Masha. No matter what happens, Jordan Grace will get her rematch. Alicia has a system they can help the ref count do anything since it's no DQ for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Yeah, that's true. She does have the system, so we'll see what role they play in this match. But I'm definitely looking forward to it next week.
I think Jordan, right when she said that Jordan versus Masha at Turning Point's the plan no matter what, I don't think Alicia is winning. Just because Masha getting that decisive second win, obviously in the rematch for Jordan, that's what kind of is going to, just because TNA tends to do, rematches that soon, that's what's going to cement Masha's reign, at least for this one. So it has to be that.
And that could, as Joseph alludes to here, maybe it's Jordan Grace's last match with TNA. Yeah, definitely. It could be her last match.
Well, maybe not last match, but I definitely see her being in the Royal Rumble. So, and this time as part of that, you know what I mean? So I don't know if that, if this would necessarily be her last match, but I think it'll be wrapping up here pretty soon.
Her last match, I meant her last match in TNA.
No, that's what I mean. I don't, because I would assume that she would, finish the rest of the tapings after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. Well, I do agree. I could see her finishing out the year with TNA, but we don't know. We don't know yet. It's too soon to tell. All right, next we get a quick Nic Nemeth segment, and he's basically checking on his brother, and like Santino Marella has to remind him he has to go out there. This leads into Brian Myers versus Nic Nemeth, which I thought was a decent match. Nic Nemeth getting the victory after he super kicked and danger zone to Brian Myers. I had to say, Joe Hendry, who was on commentary for this match, had seen enough of the shenanigans. He got off commentary and carried Lish all the way to the back.
That was very funny. And I want to, a real quick shout out to Hannafin. I liked how he brought up, which I find it very just crazy that, well, he alluded to that this is the first time they faced each other since 2016. They said that Nemeth, as I would assume Dolph Ziggler at that point, super kicked Kurt Hawkins, and they beat one in 7 seconds. But he also said this was only the second time they faced each other in a singles match, which I find that crazy because I would assume there was a bunch of tag teams in that time, just because I can't imagine this was about being the only second time they face each other ever. You know what I mean? Singles I would buy, but yeah, I thought this was again, Nemeth has been very, very good since coming to TNA. And there's a reason why Brian Myers has that the most professional wrestler gimmick. He doesn't go out there and half-ass it.
I agree. He gives it 110%.
Alicia before getting kicked out, hitting him with the kendo stick. God damn, I'm blanking on the name. But yeah, Alicia getting involved.
Kendo stick?
No, but Alicia hit
Nic Nemeth.
hit Nemeth. it's just funny. She continues to be, like I said, one of the best parts of the system. And yeah, it was funny seeing Joe Hendry get involved in carry out here. Tom Hannafan popping for that, and Ray Walt saying he can't do that. Just so good. This was so funny.
Yeah, I agree. And then at the end, the crowd chants, "Hug it out," but they don't hug.
Yeah, which again, ultimately, I think that Nemeth is turning heel because, and I think he'll probably cheer on his brother as well. I don't see his brother turning with him. It doesn't really add anything, but it just wouldn't make any sense for JBL just to be getting involved on his own. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's the only reason I can think of, because, and then that way with Nemeth turning heel, I just think it makes more sense at that point, because I think it was going to be a babyface the next champion anyway.
Yeah.
So, and Joe, I could see Joe beating him.
That's why I mentioned earlier, like, have Kaz pull Moose and rob Joe Hendry of his moment.
Yeah. Oh, and then have Joe immediately lose. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why you'd bring that up though and put that in the air. You know what I mean? That would be kind of sad, but
it would make Frankie Kazarian a bigger heel, and you get more sympathy from Joe.
Yeah, but then I think people would lose their shit if Joe won the title just to drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, so TNA closed off with the Steve Maclin vignette. He enters his truck. He drives off and it says "to be continued." So I'm intrigued by this, because what is this leading to? Is Steve Maclin going to go and find his former tag team partners, because we haven't seen them in a couple years? Or is he just going to go clear his head? Because remember, Eric Young said that he needs to that the whole issue was about him and he needs to figure things out. So, wonder what this is going to lead to. I'm intrigued.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's going to be his former partners, because I think one works for WWE and the other one, yeah, forget about the other guy. But I think him just going away for a little bit and then coming back in some sort of big moment. I don't think it's going to be constant weekly segments with him. But yeah, this is very intriguing.
I am, because we don't know what this is going to lead to, you know? Mm-hmm. But is he going to come? Like, I'm just so, like, I wonder what the payoff for this is going to be. Like, is he going to come back, like, that he thinks he's cleared his head, and then he turns on Eric Young? But I feel like Steve Maclin has already been a heel. I like him as a babyface. I don't mind him as a babyface. So I definitely would agree with you. I would want Eric Young to be the one to turn on Steve Maclin.
Yeah, or at the very least, Eric Young do some turns before Steve Maclin gets back, and then that's when Steve Maclin makes his return. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is very, again, Steve Maclin is a huge star, and I think this is only like adding to what I think is them having big plans for him.
Yeah. I wish Steve Maclin's title reign would have lasted longer, and I hope he does become TNA champion again.
Yeah, I think it's a no doubt.
Alrighty, Bert. As we get ready to sign off, you got any last comments, questions, any last comments or remarks that you want to say?
No, just make sure to watch TNA and then tune in next week.
Yeah, and where can people find you?
Just on Exit Bert Maclin 11.
All right, and you guys can follow me on Twitter at @_talk33 AEW TNA. I go live on my YouTube channel, Rangers of Wrestling, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, occasional Saturdays and Sundays, and of course for all things TNA, you can check us here every Thursday. Now with Thanksgiving being on a Thursday, I believe next week should be the go home show to Turning Point, because the following Thursday, I'm assuming they're going to be doing like a special Thanksgiving episode, so we're going to be off for Thanksgiving.
Yes, and I'm assuming they'll say something about that on next week's show.
Yeah, definitely. So, with that being said, thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live or whenever Body Slam goes live. And we'll see you guys next week for the Go Home Show to Turning Point. Bye.